What's cracking, everybody? XehrFelrose here, bringing you some Pokemon Go Battle League content. Today's video is going to be all about the upcoming Sunshine Cup here in Go Battle League. For the season of Max Out, we're getting it for a week, and it's going to be a lot of just ground type, flying type teams, and it's going to be interesting. So we are going to go over the rankings, some top picks for this meta, and then go over 5 strong teams that I think are going to be really good, at least to start the meta off here. At the very tippy top of this meta, we've already got kind of the core 5 Pokemon that you're probably going to see the most of. Talonflame, Diggersby, Clodsire, Jumpluff, and Quagsire. Those are essentially what the meta are going to revolve around. Then we've also got a little bit further down, we got Licky and Dunsparce and Abomasnow. Some other picks that I think are going to be really good here. I think Flygon is actually going to cook quite a bit. It does have Dragon Tail, because Mudshot did get that nerf, but you could still use Mudshot. It's certainly not going to be all that bad. But Dragon Tail is pretty good because there's not going to be very many fairy types in this meta to really have to deal with. And you could even go as far as running something like Stone Edge on your Flygon. I think that would be a really interesting thing to be able to hit a lot of those things that, ice types, flying types are going to be, things that Flygon struggles against. So between those, though, for the most part, you're going to see like the odd Gastrodon here and there. But really, for the most part, Credilli, I think, is as far down as on the rankings as I'm going to go here as far as strong picks. So let's go ahead and jump straight into the teams here. Something else, I guess, before I jump into teams. I've been talking about some other trainers here. Superior, right, is going to be an interesting pick. But I think that because the top meta is so problematic against it, I think you're going to see a lot less of the core, like the regular grass types, and more of like Abomasnow and Jumpluff. And then also Kanto Marowak, even as a shadow, along with Hippowdon. I think those could also be some very interesting picks. Again, this meta is going to include only normal fire, grass, and ground types, and no Charizard. Talonflames here. I don't really understand the point of that. But anyway, let's get into the first team here. We're going to have a Jumpluff with Diggersby and Dunsparce. You guys might actually recognize this team, and apparently everything else decided to come out at the same time. Why is there a Berserker on the screen? Get back in your ball, sure. Get back in your ball. All right, so this team here is going to be very reminiscent of the one that we ran in the Great League that hit Veteran in the Open Great League, right? So Jumpluff, you could run a Shadow. Probably would prefer the Shadow because it hits a little bit harder. And it's okay to TM Acrobatics off of your existing Jumpluff. You really will prefer having the easier pacing for Aerial Ace in this, in general, honestly, not even in this meta. And we have Diggersby here as our core mate to the Jumpluff. I feel like this is a really strong team because Abomasnow is really the only thing that's going to effectively core break it. So if you're afraid of Abomasnow, you could certainly just do something like run double rollout with the Dunsparce and the Miltank in the back. I think Miltank is a really underrated pick in this meta, as it's got that Ice Beam coverage move along with Body Slam and Rollout. So it's got a lot of really good energy to be able to hit things in this meta with. Overall, team is going to be one of the strongest around, getting A's almost across the board, except for safety, which, you're getting ground and flying. So, but the team overall is incredibly flexible. Diggersby's bulk cannot be understated here, but there's definitely fewer things for Diggersby to really prey upon. Like, Dunsparce is probably the main reason why it's here. But overall, into the entire meta, Credilli and Lileep are the only things that are truly going to be able to really beat this whole team all the way around. And that's why I think that Credilli is going to be a really interesting pick, is because teams like this will have a very tough time dealing with it. Again, if you don't like the Abomasnow, you could certainly sub out that Diggersby, but having the double super effective fire punches still gives your Diggersby a fighting chance, even in those bad situations. So let's jump over to team number 2 here in the Sunshine Cup. Now, this is a team I think is quite interesting. So we're going to have Dunsparce with double Mudboy, and this is going to entirely hope that there are no things like Superior and very few Credilli. Now, Credilli, I think, is one of those things that's going to easily creep up in here and be a force to be reckoned with in this meta, but until it does, Dunsparce lead with double ground is going to be really strong, because I anticipate the meta is going to start off with a lot of trainers running a team like the previous one, where it's going to be a flying type with 2 things in the back that are going to be able to deal with, like, other, like Talonflame is like the biggest, anti-Jumpluff thing in this cup, but also to deal with other things that would beat those flyers, right? So having the double anti-rollout, because I feel like rollout's going to be like one of those really, like, really staple sort of things in this meta, right? You're going to see rollout users on almost every team. Having Quagsire and Gastrodon, you're going to safe swap your Quagsire because it has that really nice Stone Edge, Aqua Tail flexibility, hits almost everything in this cup for neutral or better. And while the coverage is a D, I think that this team handles at least the core meta very nicely. Now, Jumpluff, again, is not going to be something that this backline deals with, so if you're going to be running this team, again, if you're using it like an ABB and you're not running the Clodsire, which the Clodsire would actually be able to deal with Jumpluff, regardless if you're using Stone Edge or Sludge Bomb, but if you're running the double Gastrodon, like the double water grounds, you're going to want to make sure that you're swapping out at some point in a neutral-ish lead to be able to draw out the opponent's Jumpluff and try and get rid of it so that the Gastrodon or the Quagsire, whichever you prefer, can sweep. Now, one thing that I will bring up here is that the Gastrodon is on Water Pulse in this meta, and I think that that's probably going to be the more common move as the meta kind of goes on. People are going to end up wanting to run that Water Pulse for the coverage into Talonflame and Diggersby. It's just, there's not really many things that Earth Power is going to hit because you already have Mud Slap and you're not really going to need it, you know, Earth Power for anything else other than like Clodsire, which again, you have Water Pulse for. Well, you need it. Again, team does really well into the core meta here and the top picks, but again, obviously going to have a hard time dealing with something like Cordilli. And on the off chance that you see any of these like really just, you know, linear grass types, which is pretty much this whole list here, at that point, so be it. If there's that many grass types, then truly Talonflame has failed to do its job. Let's take a look at team number 3. So this team, again, talking about Talonflame and grass types, right? So this is a team that if you want to build around Talonflame and you want to be able to beat things like the Gastrodons and the rollout users, right? You want to go for something like Superior Cordilli. Now, as far as on paper goes, Superior is the best core mate to Talonflame. However, I think that if you want to, you could certainly try and do something like Abomasnow Cordilli if you want. It's going to kind of come down to what we see more of in this meta, but Talonflame is a really solid lead. If you can keep it away from the rollout users, it has a lot of play across the board, and also just something to keep in mind too. Cordilli kind of slaps Talonflame in all evens, so don't be looking to expect to win that matchup, even against like a Shadow Cordilli. You're probably not going to win it because that pacing to Rock Slide with the Bullet Seed is just really, really fast. But overall, this team only really loses to things that you're never going to see, right? You're not going to see a Staraptor. You're probably not going to see a Magcargo or Turtonator or a Salazzle, Pyroar, Heatmore. Come on, no one's going to run that stuff. All of that stuff is deadly weak to something like Dunsparce, and it's just not something that I would expect anybody to be using. So this team has a ton of great options and coverage, a ton of great coverage options, I guess is where the sentence was supposed to go, into the meta, and it could be really, really strong. And I love the Cordilli on the safe swap because, again, the grass and rock coverage hits so many things that it can put you in a good spot to win a lot of games. Also, if you want to, you could just sub out both of the, you know, one of the grass types for like Dunsparce or something as well, or your you know, anti-water of choice. So team number 4, pulling up that drum roll here, we're going to have Clodsire Double Grass. Now, the thing with the Double Grass team is that Abomasnow is going to be a really strong core breaker in this meta. I think it's a really solid way to utilize it. And if Clodsire is running Stone Edge, it has an immense amount of play into the Flyers. It gives you a hard check to Talonflame, and that's what you're really going to need here with this grass backline. Now, if you want a really safe swap, again, I would definitely be opting for the Cordilli here, but we've got Jumpluff and Abomasnow on paper is going to be some of the best things to be pairing with this Clodsire. And again, really, really strong into the core meta. And, you know, as always, Abomasnow is going to be a thorn in your side. But again, if you're running, you know, all 3 Pokemon on this team, regardless of which version of the grasses you pick, they all have ways to hit a Abomasnow for super effective damage. So as long as you play your shields and your energy right, you might even be able to overcome the Abomasnow, which beats this whole team on paper. As Pidgeot and Torkoal are completely unlikely things that we're going to see, this team looks like it's going to have a really, really strong amount of play into the overall meta. So I think that it could do really, really well here. And then we're going to get into the final team here in the Sunshine Cup. Pulling out little bit of spice. I talked about it earlier. I think Flygon is going to be a very, very strong anti-meta pick. It's good against the rollout users. It's good against Talonflame. It's good against Clodsire. It's going to be good against even Diggersby, really, because Dragon Tails are going to add up very quickly, and Scorching Sands Dragon Claw is very strong. Now, if you want to also, you could run Mudshot and Stone Edge and forego maybe the Dragon Claw or forego the Scorching Sands. I think that Flygon has a flexible way of dealing with things, and if you don't want to run Flygon, you could run the Quagsire as well. It's very similar coverages, but Abomasnow, again, I think is going to be a really strong core breaker in this meta, and it's going to be able to put itself in a lot of good positions as long as you can keep it off of Talonflame. And in order to protect this Abomasnow against Talonflame, we've put Flygon and Dunsparce around it so that if you don't catch the Talonflame in the lead, hopefully you'll catch it with the Dunsparce in the back. Now, if Talonflame gets aligned to your Abomasnow, I mean, it's kind of curtains for your team, but that's kind of how it is with any time you get an Abomasnow on a Talonflame. It just doesn't feel good. But Diggersby also going to do okay into this team, right? So Diggersby on paper beats Flygon, but there's a lot more at play there than just a straight win into Flygon. I'm sure that there's debuffs could be at play, baiting, as long as they don't land. If they, I don't know, man. I haven't looked into the matchup, but on paper it says it's a loss for Flygon. But we can take a look at it right here. Actually, why not? There's no reason why we couldn't. So Diggersby only wins it literally only wins the one shield scenario by a single fast move. So this is something that, again, context, is definitely a thing here. This looks like it might be IV dependent. You could even see if you maximize the IVs here, which is something that you can do by just dropping down the check IVs. And now all of a sudden it's a tie. So this is an IV dependent win, and that's assuming that, Diggersby and Flygon are on even energy. And Flygon also maybe has to bait here, but like I said, the Dragon Tails are going to add up. You're playing this matchup out long enough that you might be able to fit, Abomasnow or something onto the Diggersby at some point. So overall, this team, again, very strong. No, not really anything in the meta that can just completely destroy this team by itself. So that's always something that I like to see. And then, the things that do beat the team, they're not like dominantly, things that beat 2/3 of the team. They're not like a dominant way of that happening, right? Abomasnow is neutral in and of itself to itself. And then, Dunsparce is a pretty good check to it. So again, you could definitely play around with some of the options in this team, but as an anti-meta team, I think this is going to do really well once the meta starts to settle. You could tweak it a little bit if you need to. But let me know in the comments what team you're looking to run here in the Sunshine Cup. I'm curious. And again, I'm going to be pretty much out this whole week on leave for work, so I'll be out of the country. So I'll be checking in on the comments and whatnot, and probably playing on the side. But I'll be back with you guys next week for streams and gameplay and all that. So hopefully you guys have fun in the Sunshine Cup, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Bye-bye.